see. It says we're live, so I'm gonna go with we're live.
Yay. All right, we are live. How exciting!
Okay, so hello and welcome to the Escondido Public Library Virtual Author Chat Series. This series is sponsored by the Friends of the Escondido Public Library and in partnership with the Ripped Bodice Bookstore in LA. I'm Jessica Buck, your host, Adult Services Librarian, and today, oh God, Siri thought I was talking to her. Okay. Sorry, Siri, I'm not talking to you. And today I am joined by author Casey McQuiston.
Hi! Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here.
I am so excited too. And I have your little official introduction so that people, I'm assuming everyone that is watching this or will watch it just knows you because you're amazing. But in case people don't know you yet, now they're gonna know you. Mm-hmm. So Casey McQuiston is the New York Times bestselling author of Red, White, and Royal Blue, as well as a pie enthusiast. She writes books about smart people with bad manners falling in love. Born and raised in southern Louisiana, she now lives in New York City with her poodle mix and personal assistant Pepper, which I hope we'll get to see Pepper again, but it's okay.
Yeah. No, she's napping like right next to the keyboard, so as soon as she like wakes up, I will drag her over here. So, but yeah, thank you so much for the intro. I'm so excited to be here. As I was saying before we went live, I love library chats, so this should be fun. Yay!
I'm so excited. And I forgot to mention, even though it's right here, that you are the 2020 recipient of the Alex Awards, and your next novel, the cover that was just released today, One Last Stop, will be released next year.
June 1st, 2021, baby.
That is the day that we are all waiting for. Yeah. I am so excited. And there was something else I was supposed to say. Yes, okay. So to everyone watching, let me see, I'm so excited that now I didn't even split my screen the way I normally do. I'm a professional.
It's okay. No worries. We're chilling. It's all good.
Let's see. Okay. Let me post it and then I will say it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you all for joining us today. I want to remind everyone watching that although we aren't physically in the library, our code of conduct still applies. So be respectful to the author and to each other. Don't be a jerk. If there are any hateful or insensitive comments, they will be deleted and you could be blocked. Mm-hmm. And I will be monitoring the comments. So if you have any questions for the author, just plop them down there and we'll try to get to them. Also, feel free to chat amongst yourselves in the comments. And there will be some questions that I'll be asking the viewers as well. So yeah, let's just have fun together. Yeah. So exciting. Yay. So yeah, let's just start. This has been an exciting day for you amongst the COVID-ness of the world. So how are you today?
I'm really good today. Yeah, in case you missed it, I revealed the cover for my second book, One Last Stop, this morning with an interview with Entertainment Weekly. And it's just so exciting. I wrote this book. I came up with the idea for this book like over 2 years ago, and I wrote it like, a year and a half ago. And so I've been like kind of alone with this story for a long time. Like I sold it. It was like a full year after I sold it before I could even announce it. And so just to be able to like share it with people and talk about it is like so exciting and so fun. And like, I don't know, this is like, I was telling somebody the other day that like, I feel like this is like I love my first book, but my second book is like my little youngest child that I'm like, okay, go to kindergarten. I hope everybody's nice to you, So, so yeah, it's super exciting. So yeah, I mean, obviously it's been a really hard few months for all of us, but like little moments like this, like are, such a huge help in all of the like shit show. Am I allowed to curse on this?
It's fine.
Okay, I'll keep it.
It's an adult program.
I'll keep it PG-13. All right, great. But yes.
And since there's some people, I want to give some shout outs. Hi, Rob, Mark, Irving, Laura, thank you for joining us. We're so excited that you are here.
Yay.
Okay, so let's start with the questions, the fun ones. So what inspired you to get into romance? first as a reader and then as a writer?
Oh my God. Okay. So I'm the youngest child, speaking of youngest children, and my oldest sister is about 8 years older than me. And I remember her living with us for a little bit, like when she was college aged, like she moved back in, and she had gotten really into like those, like, like Walmart, Janet Ivanovich paperback romances.
Yes.
And I was probably like 11 or 12, and I like always like was stealing books off my sister's shelf when I was younger. And so like, why would I stop there? And so I remember, like, I think it was like the full tilt, full whatever series for Janet Ivanovich was the first ones that I like stole off her shelf. And I remember like hiding in a little corner of my room being like, oh my God, like very blown away by I was like, this is people do this, people write this, wow. And so like that was my first like exposure to it. But I think like when I look back at like, movies and TV shows and books that I've loved throughout my life, what I've always been most drawn to, no matter what the genre is, whether it was sci-fi, fantasy, contemporary, sitcom, anything, is like the relationships in them and like love stories and the things like that. Like I think I was the only person who was happy with the finale of Lost, because like almost all the pairings I liked ended up together,
Your ship sailed safely.
Right. And I was like, and everybody was like, well, what about the plot? And I was like, I don't care. I just don't care about the plot. Like, I just care that like, like Charlie and Kate were reunited. I mean, Charlie and Claire were reunited, And so, yeah, so I think it was just like, I don't know, there's something in my brain. I'm just like a romantic. And so it's what I've always been drawn to in fiction, no matter what the genre is. It's like, if there's not a romance, I will make one. I like lately in quarantine, I've gotten really into Breath of the Wild. And so of course I'm like, this is like the grand YA fantasy love story of our time, of Link and Zelda to me, and Breath of the Wild. So that was kind of, I don't know, definitely my first exposure was like stealing books off my sister's bookshelf. And then, but it was just something that kept coming up throughout like everything I loved in my life,
I love that. Yeah, I got my first paperback romance novels. They actually sold them at Big Lots. And it was,
oh my
they
God.
were like, they weren't like the best. They were like the little discount 50 centers. And I remember the first time I grabbed one, and this was like, I was like 12, around there, I think.
It's such a great age to read your first romance.
Oh yeah. I just showed it to my mom and she's like, yeah, sure. So from then on, whenever we went to Big Lots, I got a romance novel and a bag of the like Hawaiian chocolate covered macadamia nuts.
Wow. Love that combo.
That was my pairing.
Wow. I love that. That's actually like, that is like sure, like wine and cheese right there. I honestly love like a Walmart or like a big box store paperback romance. Like there's absolutely no shame in that. I think that like good romance comes in all shapes and sizes, and it can be found on any shelf. So I support you. I'm sure that you had some great reads. Big Lots.
Oh yeah. It was an awakening of like, oh, this is out there. It's not just, fan fictions online. It's
right. Like people actually just like write love stories. Like that's a genre,
It was fantastic. Because before that, it was just like holes, like school books.
Yeah.
Need more romance in school books.
Yeah.
That's my thought. Yeah. That's my next project. Okay, so next question. Before we get into all of the red, white, and royal blue questions, and the Facebook questions, and the Instagram questions, and the email questions.
So many questions.
So many questions. Let's just like start it off by talking about the importance of LGBTQ+ stories. Preparing for this, I watched like all the interviews that I possibly could that you've done that are available, and like stalked your Twitter and social media so I don't ask you dumb questions, because
sorry if it was so weird, because I'm weird and I'm sorry.
No, I loved everything. I especially loved, off topic, but we'll come back to the question, I loved your recent Instagram post where you just grabbed random things from your house that like looked pretty together, and I was like, I love that.
Yes.
So it's like, I love your social media. But
thank you so much.
Back to the question. You've talked before about the queer experience and the many different lenses for these stories. And I was just curious, what are your experiences with publishing, and what do you think needs to happen to get more of these voices and stories to the readers?
Yeah,
Big
it's
question.
interesting. Yeah. Well, to be frank, I mean, I think that a big problem that we have in publishing is like you have people who want to take risks and want to push things forward and are like, there's people at every publishing house, and I know people at every publishing house who are working so hard every day to change publishing, to push it forward, to change the norms of
Mm-hmm.
publishing, to advocate for marginalized authors, marginalized stories. And on the other hand, you have like the people who are making the decisions about what money goes where, and those two groups don't always have the same things in mind. And it's just, I think the hardest part is just like convincing, like, people who've like older, even like especially like older publishers and CEOs who've like been in the industry for years and years and years, who they're still thinking like, oh yeah, like, probably 10 years ago you couldn't really sell like a queer rom-com like this. And so I'm really lucky in that I was able to find like an editor who is very,
Mm-hmm.
very passionate about the story from jump, who really believed in it. My agent also is like super passionate and believes in my work, and they both were really strong advocates for me. And that helped a lot. I think also my book just like had a lot of commercial appeal, which helped a lot. Like it's very like, it's a very shiny, cute, like colorful package that
Oh
is
yeah.
like, yeah. Well, and it's also like, it's super like, it was like super on trend and everything of
Oh
like
my gosh.
royals
Everything
and
about
politics. Right. So I definitely like kind of, it was kind of like a lightning strike thing for me. But yeah, what I would love to see is like, and what I think that I'm trying to do, and a lot of other authors who are writing like queer romance and queer rom-com right now are trying to do, is to like find a foothold in the market to show these bigger publishers and these bigger imprints that like there's no reason that like these super talented queer authors of romance should be having to self-publish. Not that
it.
there's anything at all wrong with self-publishing. It is like a completely valid way to put your work out there and to do whatever the hell you want to do. But I would love to see, more and more and more and more diverse queer voices having, like, you know, big five publisher support, and like, thousands and thousands of dollars of like promo and marketing thrown behind them, and like beautifully designed covers.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, I think that like the value of that is like um showing that like, sorry, my dog is chasing her tail on the floor, it's distracting me. But the value of that is showing that happy endings and love stories and these escapist stories are for everyone, and that
Absolutely.
you know I think it can be like really discouraging when you're like coming out or coming to terms for yourself or growing up, to look at fiction that you love and not see any, like, a lot of examples of somebody who looks like you, loves like you, whatever, getting to have a happy ending and to be the central character of the story. So yeah, I mean, I like to think of myself as like one part of like a queer wave of these authors who are pushing forward and doing great work and finding editors who are ready to kind of help them push forward. And I hope that what we are doing is showing like the industry, like, wow, if you invest in these books and you promote them and you take
Mm-hmm.
risks on them, then like they will do numbers and they will be successful. And like, it shouldn't be like, we can earn you money, you should like invest in us. But unfortunately, like, it's business.
Yes.
And so yeah, so I would just love to see, I would love to be like I would love an overstuffed shelf of queer romance, where it's like, I have to use them as coasters. Like, I can't fit them all in my bookshelf. So that's what I would love.
I agree. I love it too. I love discovering. Twitter's been amazing because people are just, especially romance authors in the romance community,
Mm-hmm.
everyone just wants to push everyone else up
Right.
and
Yes.
recommend everything. So I'm always on Twitter like, okay, who else do I need to read? What else do I need to get in the library? So
Yes.
I love it. I love discovering new authors, and it's one of the best things to find an author that you've either never heard before, or that you've never heard before. You're like, oh my gosh, this person's been here this whole time, and the marketing just I never got to see it before. So I think definitely.
Yeah, no, absolutely.
Let me see. For people in the comments, yes. If you have a question for the author, just put it in the comments, and I will plop it in kind of where it works in the questions that we already have. So if you have a question, just feel free to put it in there.
Yes.
Let me see where we're at. That was a wonderful answer. Thank you so much. I know that was a really difficult question, and I felt bad writing it, but it's important.
No, it's like a conversation
we need this.
We need to have. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a conversation that we've been having, especially this year. I think, especially like this past summer with, you know, like the Black Lives Matter movement. We're having a lot of conversations in publishing right now just about like, what does diversifying our shelves and our lists actually mean? Like, how do we build this up from the inside too? Like, you know, not to get too deep into like what needs to go on in the literary industry, but just, you know, some thoughts. You know.
No, exactly. Let me just remind people again that they can ask questions. And let's see. So this one I'm excited about because I think I mentioned it later, but I'm going to say it now. For the romance book club that I hosted at the library, Between the Covers Romance Book Club, this was our June pick. And we were all so excited because a lot of us like kept seeing it and we kept hearing about it, but we never read it just because we never got to it. So it was like our chance to just experience it in all of its glory. And we loved it just so much. So my question is, what has surprised you most about just the overwhelmingly joyful reception of this beautiful, beautiful book?
I mean, honestly, that it exists. Like, I mean, like I've said this before, but you know, when I was like writing this book, I did not have any high hopes that it was ever going to be published. It was kind of just like a passion project that I was doing when I was procrastinating work at my job, you know, and I was like, like, let's like, this is fun. I'm going to try it. And then like, I got like a certain point and I was like, okay, I think I'm actually doing this. And then, but like, I had already decided like, you know, I'm going to try for just a few months to like go out to an agent and see if I can find rep. And if it doesn't work out, then like, it's just not meant to be. And I was very lucky in that it did work out, that I found rep pretty relatively quickly. And yeah, so I like throughout that whole part of the process though, I was expecting it to be like kind of like niche successful. I was like, if this can find like its people, you know, like people like me who are like, you know, like queer millennials with depression and anxiety, like it will do great with those people. And so it really has done so much more than I ever thought that it would. Which is incredible and amazing. I think the most surprising thing about it, I mean, beyond the fact that it exists at all, is just like the range of it. Like there are people who've read my book that I would never have imagined would ever even come across it. I mean, like I get emails from like 80-year-old men in Alabama, you know, and I'm like, what's happening here? You know? Actually, no, it was Florida. And then I hear from like, you know, like teenagers, and I hear from, you know, like pretty much the entire age spectrum, like straight people, queer people, like people who don't even like read romance, people who've never read romance before. So I'm just like, I was really just blown away with like the diversity of like the range of people who liked it and who connected with it, which I think is really, really cool. And you know, I just love the idea that it's a story that like has enough joy in its heart that like even if you don't personally relate to it, it is still like kind of an infectious sort of joy. But yeah, I mean, it's very cool. I'm very thankful.
Yeah, it is definitely infectious. I was rooting for everyone. Book. I was like, I don't care I'm not supposed to like you. Now I want you to like
Yeah.
just be a good person because I need everyone to be happy.
I know.
And the funny thing is, during the book club, we talked about how much we love the president. And
Yes.
we're like, why can't it be real?
Oh my God. I had so much fun writing her because she's so many Southern moms that I've met in my life. I just threw it all of them together. My mom was like, is this character supposed to be me? And I was like, Mom, no. This character is every Southern mom that I've ever met.
I love that. That's actually, did I ask that? I don't think I asked that question, but do you get people asking you like if characters are based on people in your life? Because I know that a lot of authors get asked that.
People will ask me like they'll ask me that, or they'll ask me if it was based on, if like anyone was based on like real, like if I based it on any like real royals or anything, and I was like, no. I think like I will say like Nora was like loosely inspired in some ways by like one of my friends, in that she's just like very, very cool and like doesn't have time for anyone's bullshit, but yeah, no, I'm mostly though they are like either me working through some of my own issues, or just like me having fun with like tropes and like character traits that I like, character traits that I think are interesting to play with. So yeah, but yeah, I will say I do think that Ellen Claremont is also really heavily inspired by Wendy Davis, the politician who's like a Texas state senator, who I absolutely love.
I love that. Okay, we are getting questions. So I'm going to start with the Instagram question that I received earlier. This is from Clara. Was there any particular scene that you had multiple ideas for the direction you want to take them? And she has examples, such as the first kiss, coming out scenes, I love you scene, etc. If so, how did you decide which direction you wanted to take them?
I think, I think when I was writing, the first kiss scene was actually one of the first scenes I ever wrote, and for the entire book, like, because I don't write in sequence, which I know really freaks people out sometimes when I tell them. But yeah, I write most of my books like I have an outline, and then I just kind of like write completely out of sequence and then throw it all together. But so the first kiss scene was one of the first scenes I wrote, so I always knew exactly how it was going to happen. I had like a very specific image in my brain, and that's how a lot of my scenes actually start. Is I think because I love like movies and TV so much, I very often will have like a picture of like a shot in my head of like what I want a scene to look like, and then I kind of write toward that. So I feel like for the first kiss scene, it was like them standing under that tree in like the rose garden. And then like for the I love you scene, I think, yeah, like I love like a dramatic confession in the rain. It's so good. Or like drenched in rain. I don't know. Maybe it's because of
Pride and Prejudice. Or someone's wet, as long as they're wet. Like,
well, yeah, no, Pride and Prejudice 2005 is a classic example of how good a love confession in the rain can be. But so yeah, like that, and then yeah, for what was the other one? Oh, like the coming out scene. I mean, I think Alex coming out to his mom like with the PowerPoint, that was like one of the very first things.
Oh my gosh.
That's one of
I love that there were PowerPoints involved. I'm like,
yeah. That was like one of the very first like comedic scenes I came up with, because I had this idea of like Ellen in my head, and I was like, okay, so she's like part Wendy Davis, and she's part like every Southern mom I've ever met, and she's part like Tammy Taylor from Friday Night Lights, and she's part like Leslie Knope from Parks and Rec. And so I was like, what's like something that all these people have in common? And I just thought about like PowerPoint presentations and binders, and like being like, so organized and having your shit together, and also slightly like emotionally disconnected sometimes. And so yeah, so that was like something I very vividly imagined before I even started, and I knew that like I could have a lot of fun with it. So yeah, I feel like for the most part, most of the scenes that I write, I have a really strong idea of setting and place, and like the content or the conversation that happens within the scene will change. But like, I really think I start off with thinking like, oh, well, wouldn't it be so great to have like something happen at a lake house? Wouldn't it be so great to have something happen at the Victoria and Albert Museum? And then I kind of build that into the plot. It was like kind of like reverse engineering a plot. I don't know, but
No,
yeah, that's kind of
I
how
love
it works.
it.
Yeah.
I love how many different places we go in the
Yeah.
book. And you wrote it to where I didn't get confused. Like, I'm not, okay, wait, where are we now? Like, I knew exactly where we were going. And I
Thank
think
you.
what you were talking about with kind of picturing it as a movie in terms of like where the scene is, one of the Facebook questions I think fits in well with that. This is, oh, I'm not gonna be able to say your name, and I'm so sorry. Maurice? Gosh, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I can't say your name. So they want to know any dream castings
Oh my
if it was
God.
made into a movie.
I get asked this question so often, and it's so hard because I feel like I can't picture, like Alex and Henry are like so specific in my brain that like I've never seen anyone who like looks like them, you know? Like I have these two faces in my head, and it's like really hard to like find someone who looks like that.
Yeah.
So it's easier with like the like supporting cast because I feel like they're like a little fuzzier in my head. So like I always like the idea of there's this actress named Amy Carrero. She does like the voice of She-Ra on She-Ra, and I think she would be an amazing June. I also like a really always, and he's like way too busy and cool and important to ever do it, but I love the idea of John Boyega as Pez. I think he would be
Why
so
not?
good. Yeah, I know. He's got a lot going on, and you know what? Like, that's okay. You know, he can do his thing. That's fine. And then, like, you know, like I said, Tammy Taylor was like a big inspiration too for Ellen. So, like, if I could ever get Connie Britton to play Ellen, that would be such a dream. And I feel like those are my biggest ones. I'm trying to think if there are any others. Well, when I was writing the book, I pictured like The Rock as Cash. You know, just like yeah, like a big dude, a big bald dude. But now lately I've been like really liking the idea of Winston Duke as Cash. Like ever since I saw Us, I like the idea of Winston Duke as Cash. But yeah, those are like kind of like the ones that like haven't really changed for me in terms of like oh, I like that person for that role. So yeah, but you know, all very much like subject to anyone's interpretation. If you think somebody looks like something, then you know what, that's your experience, honey.
I love it. I love hearing what authors have imagined. And it's like,
Yeah,
it's so hard for me to picture people. Like,
yeah, no,
I
I
can't
feel
do
like,
it.
but that's like when I'm drafting, that's like one of the first things I like to do is like just like even if I don't like have an actor, I will like find like a model or like a stock photo or like a picture from Pinterest, and I'm like, here's a visual, and it kind of helps me like ground that character.
Yeah, we had Amina May Safi if like 2 or 3 chats ago, and
Uh-huh.
she showed us like she has that whole like little journal with like photos pasted in it for her
Oh my
characters.
God, I love that. Yeah, I do that with Google Docs.
I love Google Docs.
Oh my God,
Obviously, that's
I'm almost out of storage in my Google Docs. I use them that much.
oh man. See, I have multiple
Oh my
accounts,
God.
and then I'll like
See, that's what I
share
need to do.
access between
Mm-hmm.
them. It's a problem. It's an addiction.
Smart.
Let me see, because we're getting tons. I'm going to focus on the red, white, and royal blue ones for now. And then
Okay.
any questions about one last stop towards the end, that way we're like in the mode.
Cool. Yeah, good plan. Well, like, yes,
Okay,
divide our time.
so let's see. Okay. Have you thought about ever doing a sequel? That is
Oh
the
my God.
question.
Well, it's hard because like I do think there's like a lot of threads that are left open, at the end of the book. Like, we see like Alex's sort of side of the plot is like the political side is sort of tied up. But like there's still like all of these questions about like the throne on Henry's side and like his brother and his sister and his mom. And at the same time, I love the ending. I feel like it's like a very nice
Yes.
standalone. And it's got like such, I think it ties itself up so neatly at the
Mm-hmm.
end. So I'm like kind of two minds about it. Like I love the idea of a sequel. I love the idea of doing more of these characters and exploring that world more. But sometimes I'm also like, oh, but like leave it alone. Like it's done. But I
I
mean,
think a lot of authors can
I know.
do that.
No,
Not
I know.
naming anyone.
I know. I would love, I mean, yeah, like who wouldn't love to like spend some more time with characters that they love. So like if like that was something that became a possibility, it would certainly be something I would very, very strongly consider. I'll put it that way.
And the other part of the question, they want to know if you would ever write a book with Adam, I think Silvera, because you
Adam
guys
Silvera
are this person's two favorite authors.
I mean, Adam's amazing. I mean, I think he is so busy that like maybe in like, 2030, yeah, I mean, but he's so talented. And I do love the idea of like collaborative books. Co-writing sounds so fun to me.
Okay, and same person wants to know about how did you write the scene where Alex wanted Henry to tell him to leave? Listening to the audiobook during that was so amazing. I was at the edge of my seat the whole scene. It was amazing.
I don't know. I mean, like that was one of those scenes that I felt like really flowed as I was writing it. Honestly, it's ironic that I write romance because like one of my favorite types of scenes to write is a fight scene or an argument scene. I love like putting two characters like facing each other with like, and they both have good arguments and they're making good points. And they care about each other so much. They have the ability to hurt each other so much. And then just like letting them go and like seeing like where it can go. And so, but I think I was like, how does this scene end? Because I knew it was like Alex was gonna fly to London, and I knew that like at that moment like Henry was not gonna be like, okay, you've convinced me, And so I was like, how's he gonna react to that? And I was like, well, there's no way that Alex would just like walk away. Like he's not that type of person. And so I knew it had to be just like I knew it had to be a moment of like, if you're gonna do this, you have to actually do this for real and like break my heart for real. Like you can't just ghost me. You can't just like, I think maybe I was working, you know what, now I'm saying it, I'm like, maybe I was working through some stuff from past relationships. But it was very much like, I think that's like a really real thing. And when you're breaking up with somebody, it's like, you know what, if you're gonna break my heart, like do it all the way and do it right, and so like that was the moment I was trying to have. But yeah, honestly, I love writing angst. I'm so sorry. I mean, I only put you guys through like half of one chapter of it, so like don't get too mad at me. But yeah, it is something I do love to write. Like I think that like every book I write, like I just finished my third book, and like the romantic confrontation scene is also a fight scene, but it's like in a very, very different way. And I just like, I love the tension of that. It's like there's so much going on there. It's so much fun to do. I don't know. I just like to put my characters through it, I guess.
No, I love it. I love all your scenes. They're amazing.
Thank you.
They're just that's why we love the book.
Yeah,
great.
thank you so much.
So Genevieve wants to know if Henry is inspired by anyone.
I feel like Henry, God, okay, I've said this before and it's embarrassing, but like Henry has a lot of my baggage. Like I gave him a lot of angst that like was personal to me. So I guess you could say that he was inspired by me going to therapy.
And we love Henry.
Yeah, but I think also like he reminds me a lot of like when I was a kid, I really loved, not like this is not like a real person, but this is like, I really loved the book A Separate Piece that I had to read it in high school.
Oh,
I loved it. And it was just like this like very like repressed but beautiful story of like, you know, going to boarding school, being young men. And I feel like I put a lot of like that energy into him, of just like that like wistfulness and that longing and like the academia-ness of that. And I think also like I think that every romance writer, like our love interest comes a lot from what we are attracted to in a person. So like there's like very much just like, let me construct someone that I think I could write about falling in love with, you know. I think that's like the same thing with my second book. It's a very, very different character, but I was like, oh yeah, like let's like create this like dream person. So yeah, I wouldn't say I really based him on anyone specific. It was more of like a vibe, and it was like a trope. Like I was like, I really want to play with this Prince Charming trope and see how I could subvert it and how I could make it interesting. So yeah.
I love it. I love Henry. I love how you have this one idea about him, and then you find out that, oh, but he's liked him the whole time, and then it's like, oh, Henry, it's like, oh, I just need you to be happy.
Oh, I know. I love him.
Just want to like hold him.
He's a baby. That's my son. Sorry, can I like cut the camera for 1 second so I can turn on my light? I'm like, I did not expect the sun to go down this fast, and I'm like looking at how dark my picture is. I'm so sorry. Give me
don't worry.
one second.
Okay, it looks like we still have some questions coming in. So while the lights come on, if
I'm back. I'm like,
hey, I was just letting people know to still put in questions.
Okay, great. All right, I am back. I am here. I have better lighting now.
Yes. People asking questions. If you can just scroll up to make sure that you don't repeat a question, that would be amazing, because I have to scroll through them all.
You're doing great. Great job, Jessica.
I'm a professional. Okay, let's go to the email question, the one that I mentioned earlier about the kimonos. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
So this is from Caroline. I hope you hear Caroline. If not, I hope you watch this later, because this is your question. So what are the others' names on the kimonos at karaoke in red, white, and royal blue? Okay,
so I don't know all of them, but I will say for sure that I had originally picked out some different ones. Like Alex's originally said Indiana Bones, and then I changed it to Ho Dameron because I thought that was great. But I always pictured, oh God, I'm gonna have to come up with like a pun off the top of my head. Oh my God. Oh my God, no, I can't do it. You know what? I think that there would be at least one Princess Diaries reference, and like maybe Bees would say like Mia Hormopolis or something. Like I think that he would try to do like something like very risque for all of them. And so something like that.
I mean, about the moose, make the moose go, wah. I love that part in Princess Diaries.
Yes. So I feel like he would definitely like do some niche references. Like, oh God, everything I'm coming up with is so dirty that I can't even say them. I like, my first thought was like the breast swing. Like, why?
No, that is perfect.
Why is my brain like this? I'm sure I will, you know what, one day when I release like the director's cut or something, I will come up with some real ones and I will put them in there, and I will shout out, what was this person's name? Caroline, close-ish. Yeah, I'll shout out Caroline.
That, speaking of deleted scenes, this is perfect for one of our Facebook questions. So excellent little segue there, Casey.
Great.
You're on it.
Yeah.
This is from Kristen. Is there something that got edited out that you still wish was in the book?
Oh yeah. Well, one thing that got cut for space was it was really just like a bunch of like text conversations, but because the book like covers the 2020 Olympics, this is in a world in which 2020 is not this way. So it covers the 2020 Olympics. And so there was going to be like a bit where Henry is forced to do like an Olympics commercial for Team GB with like his brother and his sister-in-law. And then it was going to be like Alex in Henry's text just like roasting him for how awkward he looks in the commercial, and then Alex in like June and Nora's text being like, help, I've watched it 50 times, how do I stop watching it? So
I love
that was fun. And then it was like gonna like segue into like June and Nora like ribbing him about like, oh my god, if you guys get married, like what team are you gonna have to root for? And he was like, who said anything about getting married? So it was a fun little conversation. I'm sad to have to cut that. And then God, what else? I mean, there was more of like Alex doing political recon on his own, which I realize is not like that interesting from a romance point of view, but I had fun writing it, and it like included some fun like Raphael Luna scenes, and he's like one of my favorite characters. And so I was sad to have to cut that. I had a lot of him like flirting with like middle-aged like Republican women to try and get information out of them.
Oh man.
So yeah, sad to have to cut that because it was very funny, at least in my opinion. So yeah, so that was some of the stuff I had to cut. That was a bummer, but I think most of what I cut from like my word count was just like very repetitive prose that needed to be cut.
Mm-hmm. I love it. And this question on Facebook kind of goes with a question that I had prepared, so this makes me excited now if I can find it. It's so funny. There's like, we're probably not going to get like these 10 questions, but as long as the people watching get their questions answered,
just give
I'm
the
happy.
People what they want, Jessica.
Right? I'm trying. So this is about research that you did for your book.
Mm-hmm.
And did you do any fun or interesting research? And specifically, what kind of research did you do for the politics aspect?
Yeah, I mean, okay, honestly, a lot of the politics research was watching a lot of Veep. I
Makes sense.
Yeah, I read like a very dry Hillary Clinton biography that covers her time as First Lady. So that had a lot of information about like life inside the White House. And then there's this website, it was called like whitehousemuseum.org. That is like an unofficial website that basically has like floor by floor, and you can click on each room and it tells you the history of each room, what it's used for now. It has pictures of it throughout the years. So that was super helpful in my research. And I visited that a lot of times. I'm probably on a watch list now because of how many times I visited that website. So yeah, like that was a lot of it. And then like, honestly, there's a lot of research that I did and I didn't realize I was doing it because it was like, I've like done a tour of the White House before. Like when I was like in high school, I like went on a field trip and we did like the tour of the White House. And so I saw the reason I said an important scene in the Red Room is because it's one of the few rooms in the White House I've actually physically seen in person. So I was like, I can describe it, you know? And then same thing with like, the reason I chose Kensington Palace for Henry's residence is because I like studied abroad in London one summer, and we were close to Kensington, so I spent a lot of time in Kensington Gardens and Hyde Park, like napping in the grass and looking at like eating at the orangery and looking at like Kensington Palace. So I was like, I can describe this stuff, you know. So it was kind of like I was like, well, I've already done that research, so I will use it now. So yeah, that was, and then also there were definitely things that like I have some friends who are like political staffers in DC that I would like text and be like, okay, so I need you to tell me if this is like it's okay if it's like unrealistic, like sort of like it's like rom-com rules, so we can get away with a lot, but it needs to be realistic enough that like I can show my face in DC ever again, you know. So just tell me if like read this part and tell me if it works. So that was super helpful. But yeah, so that was kind of like my research process, was a lot of reading. I watched like a lot of videos of like inside like the royal box at Wimbledon and stuff like that. Like YouTube videos are super helpful in research. But yeah, I'm a research nerd, so I love doing stuff like that.
That's awesome. So we're almost to 4:45. Is it okay if we go a little bit over? I don't want to go into your celebratory.
Yes.
So just a little bit, a little bit.
It's okay. The sushi does not get here till 8, and my somebody else is gonna get at the door, so it's fine.
Okay. So we have one more Facebook, and then I'm going to ask you about
one last stop.
Two general questions, and then we can talk about one last stop because I really want to know. Okay.
Yeah.
So the Facebook question is from Abby, and I'm also curious, have you seen or read any Red, White, and Royal Blue fan fiction, and how do you feel about fanfic in general?
Well, for legal reasons, I'm supposed to say, and I do not read it because authors aren't like legally supposed to read fan fiction of their work because of copyright reasons. But I mean, I know it exists, and I think that's amazing. I mean, like, I think I've never understood creators who get mad when people do fan fiction of their work, because I've always thought that would be like the ultimate honor would be for somebody to care enough about your work to do fan fiction of it, you know, even if it was like 300 words of like, what if they went to space, you know? Like, I mean, I think that like fan fiction is like such a cool, like, in like any transformative work, like fan art or anything, is such a cool, awesome medium, because I mean, there doesn't get much more pure love of art than that, than just like, I'm gonna like make art for free and put it online for other people to read and consume because I love this thing that much and I just want to do it for fun. You know, I think that's amazing and I love it. And I think like, you know, I always, before I got published, I always dreamed that I would like one day have people care enough about like my characters and my work that somebody would be like, I can't stop thinking about this. I need to write my own story about it. You know, I think that's amazing. I love that. So yeah, huge supporter. Cannot read it legally, but love that it exists, and hope people are having a great time doing it.
I love that because I'm a big fanfic reader.
Oh my god, it's the best.
I mean, I have so many bookmarks on my phone for I love Archive of Our Own, and I just have like my filters already set, so I can just go to my bookmark and just read what's new. So I love fanfiction's amazing.
God bless. God bless. Like, love it.
Novel length fan fictions that people just do because they love it. It's like, oh my gosh.
It's amazing. It's amazing. For free. People do it for free. For free. Like, I don't understand. I've never understood authors who get mad that people write fanfic. I'm like, that's like the ultimate honor.
That's how much they love it. That's how much. Okay. So I'm actually going to save the general questions for the end.
Okay.
So one last stop.
Yay!
The cover reveal was today, and it is beautiful. And I wish
you so much.
I'm using my iPad, so I can't show.
Let me see if I can. Hang on, I can pull it up on my phone. Give me 1 second. Then my favorites album. Let's see.
So I want to show it. Darn it.
Okay, wait. I have it.
Okay.
Here we go. In case you haven't seen it. Oh shit, that's way too bright. Hang on. Okay. Can they see? Oh my god, that's. There we go. There it is. It's backwards. Hang on. Is it backwards on the screen? Hang on. I can flip it. Give me. You know what? Here we go. I'm flipping it. We're mirroring.
We are tech people.
Here we go. Done. There it is.
Yay! It's so beautiful.
Yeah, no, I'm so excited. Like I was saying earlier, I mean, I felt like I was like alone with the story for so long. Because it took so long for me to be able to announce it and then to be able to share the cover, that it's just so exciting. Like somebody already like posted a picture of themselves like dressed up like August.
Oh my gosh, I saw that and I was gonna ask you about that.
It was the best thing ever. And like I've like loved August in secret for so long, and it's just like so I loved that. Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I'm so excited. I love this book so much. Like, it's got such a special place in my heart. it's a lot more personal to me than my first book. Like it's not like in any way autobiographical, but it is it's just a lot more like intimate, you know. It's like a much like it's got like a smaller cast. It's got, you know, like what we talked about earlier with like my first book, like, you know, there's so many different settings, it moves through so many different places, and like I was like, I really wanted to challenge myself with this book, so I was like, well, what if there's only one setting? Like it's not like the entire thing does not take place on the subway, but I would say probably like 60 to 70% of the book takes place on one subway train, which I was like so mad at myself, like 60,000 words in, like, why did I do this? Like I was like, who needs to challenge? I don't want to challenge myself anymore. But I really did want to, like, I was like, you know what, I want to do a plot where I cannot depend on the fact that they have private jets. So so I did that, and I really loved the idea of like really romanticizing something that's so mundane and so everyday as like your daily commute. Because like wish fulfillment does not have to be something that is like a completely different life than yours. It could be like, what if this amazing, magical, impossible thing happened in your like daily life in between, like when you're waiting tables and trying to finish college and dealing with your student loan debt and, you know, having too many roommates and your shower doesn't have hot water, you know. And so that was kind of like, that's like the heart of it. And it's like, I love this love interest. I love Jane. I had so much fun with her. I love her so much. She's like so ferocious and fierce and like sweet and kind at the same time. I love getting to write I loved writing like a butch lesbian love interest, because I feel like, you know, that I have not read a lot of romance novels with butch lesbian love interest, and there are like those out there, but you know, I think that they could always use some more love, and I love, yeah, and I love having like this like butch lesbian hero, and she's also from the 70s, and so she's got a lot of firsthand experience with like what it was like to be a butch lesbian in the 70s, and like, you know, she's been through some shit and like she's seen it all, and she's just like such a resilient, amazing character. I mean, okay, I guess it's my opinion that she's amazing, but no, I love her, and I love August, and she's so prickly and difficult and close to my heart. Like she just she's just so lonely, and the book starts and she just like, and it's like she's just like belligerently lonely. She's like, Dad, don't talk to me. And but she's also miserable, and she just finds love. I don't know, I just love the story. It's like a love letter to like queer history and like the gay liberation movement in the 70s, the 60s and 70s. And it's also like a love letter to like being like broke in your 20s and like having like a messy, unglamorous life. And how that can still be a place where like a big magical love can happen. So
I'm so excited.
Yay.
And someone asked, and I want to know, was June of next year always the planned release, or did like the pandemic ruin things? Why so far?
Actually, no, it actually worked out in that it was originally planned for the summer, but that was like way back when I first sold it. And then I had to do revisions on it, and I like really struggled with revisions. And so I had to ask for some more time, and they were like, okay, but we still want it to be a summer book. And so they pushed it a whole year. But then like this year came, and I was like, oh my God, it's probably for the best that it's next year, because I would love to do like a physical launch and a physical tour.
Yes.
Yeah, the question right now. And so yeah, like fingers crossed we can like actually do like some touring next year when this book comes out. I would love that. Come back to California. It would be so great.
In person.
Yes, I would love that. But yeah, but I'm glad that it's June 1st, because Jane, the protagonist, is Gemini, and the book is Gemini, so it feels perfect.
Oh,
yes,
you'll have the best book birthday.
Yes. Yeah.
It's amazing. So let me see. I guess we'll go on to the general questions. Let's hear. So, and I lost it. Oh, here we go. Okay. Are there any authors, and this can be queer or not, that you want to see get more recognition?
Oh my God, there's so many. I mean, one of my favorites is Case and Calendar. They write mostly YA, but they also sometimes do like middle grade or like adult fantasy. But like I love their voice. I love their craft. Like I think that there's so much more to craft than like a lot of people realize. And like Kaysen is a YA author that I really like respect the craft that they're doing, and also like the rep that they're bringing from like a very, very real place. I think is so cool, and I would love to see Kaysen blow up. I would love to see Kaysen on the list. That would be amazing. I feel the same way about like Aiden Thomas, who's another YA author, another trans YA author. I would love to see him blow up. And then like romance, on the romance side, I mean, she kind of has blown up because she's like been on Book of the Month, but like, and I'm probably gonna mispronounce her last name, but Talia Hibbert, or is it Hibbert?
That's it, Hibbert.
Hibbert, okay.
We just had her. That's
yes,
the one
yes, that's right.
That's the one that the Facebook Live didn't work, so we just all zoomed.
Oh my God.
So it wasn't recorded, but it happened. And I'm sorry.
But I love her. I would love to see her on the list. Like, I just like, I think that her work is like so sexy and so smart, and like, again, she's putting people, I love seeing like people get to be people who are not typically centered in romance, be centered in romance. I love seeing like disabled people and like, you know, like plus size women and
yes, I want to see them all,
like Black women and all of the above, like centered in romance. So I love that. I'm trying to think off the top of my head.
I know, it's hard.
I know. I feel like, well, she already blew up. Tamsin Muir, who wrote Gideon the Ninth and Harold the Ninth. I mean, she's blown up. She hit the list, so she's blown up. But I mean, she cannot blow up enough for me because I think she's so brilliant. Like I am like deep in a Gideon the Ninth hole. Speaking of like, you know,
current
like
reads.
Speaking of like loving something that you've read so much that you like can't stop thinking about it. That's how I am about the Lock Tomb series right now. But yeah, I mean, honestly, like there's so many. It's so hard to just name a few. I love Alyssa Cole. Oh
my gosh,
I think that she's like so big within Romancelandia, but I want her to be like a household name.
Well, she just is coming out with like a mystery.
Yes,
suspense, right? I'm just like, what can't you do?
I know, I can't wait to read it. I love her work. Like her like Reluctant Royals series is so good. I think her work is like so smart and it's like really funny. Like I think that people forget sometimes that like it's hard to do humor. And so and the fact that she's good at that is like, oh right, so okay, so you're like a genius. Cool. So yeah, those are like, you know, just a few off the top of my head, but I mean so many.
Oh, I love it. And I'm gonna have to watch this over and add links to those people because so people watching can follow them. And let me see. Now I'm like, I don't know which of these questions to ask now. Does anyone watching have any last minute questions? Because mine are now, compared to everything you talked about, mine kind of sound a little boring.
Oh my God. So. I'm sure that they are not. I'm sure they're wonderful, Jessica.
Okay, fine. I'm going to ask it. So do you have any books or shows that are getting you through lockdown?
Okay, I love these questions. So I've mentioned two of them, I think, already, which is like the Lock Tomb series, and Breath of the Wild, Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is a video game, but I care so much about the cutscenes that it is my TV show. But no, let's see. My partner and I watched every single episode of Winona Earp earlier in quarantine, and so that's like what we were watching.
That show has everything.
Yeah, so that's what we're watching on Sundays now because it's like in a new season now. Let's see what else. I watched all of Nadia from Great British Bake Off. Has like a series on Netflix now. called Time to Eat, I think. I watched every episode of that. I loved that. I watched the newest season of Dead to Me. I loved that. My partner and I went through a period where we got really into monster movies and horror movies like earlier in quarantine. So I think it's nice to like feel anxiety for 2 hours, but like know why you're feeling it, and then it stops. It's like a very good change of pace to the like other quarantine anxiety.
Because the quarantine anxiety doesn't go away.
Right. And so we watched a lot of let's see, what did we watch? We watched Deep Blue Sea, which is a great shark movie. We watched The Meg. We watched
I love The Meg.
Yes,
like,
it's so good.
I don't know why, but I love it so much.
Yes, we watched Pacific Rim and the sequel. We watched Cloverfield. I mean, like we were really in it with the monster movies for a minute there. And yeah, I feel like those are like that's like the main ones. I'm like, I know I've read more books. I mean, honestly, it was hard because I was writing a book for most of most of quarantine. I just finished a first draft of my third book like a couple weeks ago. Yay! And so like I don't like to read a lot while I'm writing. But I will say this is really embarrassing, but I did reread Twilight. But it was specifically because some of my friends and I did like a recurring like movie night where we would Zoom and watch a Twilight movie, and just like one person would share their screen and their sound, and we would all mute our mics and we would just like have a chat window open and we would just be like roasting it. And in like a loving way. And so like after the first couple of months I was like, oh, I'm gonna reread Twilight, and I did. And it was a blast. Honestly, like there's something so fun about just like pretending you're 15 for a minute and being like, oh, remember when I loved this so much? Let's revisit everything I loved about it. And you know what is great about Twilight? I'm sorry, I want to rant about Twilight now. But here's the thing. Everybody wants to know the secret sauce of Twilight. And the secret sauce is that you have never seen an author who cares more about her characters. Like whether or not you think that they are good books, Stephanie Meyer is obsessed with every single one of those characters, and it makes you obsessed with those characters too. And that is the key to good character work, is that you have to be obsessed with the amount that your readers will care about your character is directly proportionate to how much you care about your character. And nobody cares more than Stephanie Meyer, and that is why those books are addictive. Anyway,
isn't she doing 2 more?
Well, she just did Midnight Sun. I don't know if she's doing any more after that.
I thought I saw that she's doing like 2 more or something. But it's funny because we just watched the Twilight movie, and I really like watching that movie because it's such a like beginning love teen movie, but also I love Washington.
Yeah.
So I get to pretend that I'm somewhere where it's like nice and cloudy and it's rainy, and not where it's like really hot. So it's like my innocent fantasy movie. I can just pretend that I'm in
That's
Washington.
hilarious. That's hilarious.
You know, and I just admitted that where people can hear me.
Wow. Yep. You know what? We've kept it real. I mean, I'm like holding my hand lotion. I just like my hands are dry. So here we are. You know,
this is us.
This is us.
Okay, so let's wrap it up so that you can get to your sushi.
Thank you.
The question that I always ask at the end of these chats, what is your favorite library memory or memories?
Oh my God.
Or the one that stands out the most?
Okay, so like this is like really corny, but when I was a little kid, I had like my library. You know, like when you're a kid, you have like the library closest to your house is like the library. It's like the only one that exists in your head. And so like I had my library when I was a kid. And then like I got older, I started going to different libraries. But when I remember when I was like working an office job, and I was also like talking to like an agent and an editor about selling my first book. And so I had to leave. I had to be like, oh, I'm taking lunch, and like leave to go take a call with an editor at Macmillan who ended up becoming my editor in my car. And so I drove to that library, and I sat in the parking lot in my car and had the call that would change my life with my editor, who would go on to buy my book and publish me. And so I went and I deliberately went and sat in that parking lot so I could remember like when I was a little kid who loved books and this was my library, and it was kind of like this full circle moment. So that's my library memory.
I love it. Oh, I love library memories.
Yeah. Yes.
They're like my fix now. It's like I need to say that you love us.
Yeah, no, I love libraries so much. I like spent so many summers there as a kid because I was the youngest. So my mom was like, by the time I was having summer vacation, she was like, "I'm so tired. Please go to the library." So I spent many a summer doing arts and crafts and reading books at the library.
Oh, we just finished our like summer adventure reading challenge, and it worked out pretty well, even though everyone was quarantined, because for like the crafts for kids, we had it where we had pre-recorded videos of how to do it, and then people could pick up their craft kits and take them home. And I'm like, can we keep doing that?
That's so cute.
I want to do that.
Yeah, no, I need some arts and crafts. I literally ordered like origami paper the other day.
I keep seeing people doing the cross stitching.
Yeah.
It's like I'm if I get desperate, like that's what's gonna happen. Yeah. Okay, so if people want, I'll just say this. In the description of the live stream, which will be the description of the video once you're done, are all the links to where you can find Casey, the link to order Red, White, and Royal Blue, the link to pre-order One Last Stop.
Brand new link, baby.
In there for you. Yeah. And also, this is new and I worked hard on it, but don't feel bad if you don't do it. I made a little very quick Google form survey.
Nice.
Just to like say if you enjoyed this virtual event. So I just pasted it in the comments. It's only 4 questions, and it's like you just click the boxes. So it's really easy, but it'll help me know if you guys enjoyed this or not. So if you feel like you want to, just click on the link and do the form. And yeah, so thank you again for joining us. So Casey, this was just the best, and yay! I'm so happy.
Thank y'all so much for having me.
I am over the moon, and I'm reading the script, and I already said that. You can purchase this from the Rip Bodice Bookstore at www.theripbodicela.com. You can also check this out. You see the little barcode from the library. And I want everyone watching to know that you don't have to live in Escondido, live in California to get an online library card to check this out or check any other books out digitally through Libby or Overdrive. We also have Hoopla, so you can even check out music and you can watch movies. So just go to our website, and it's the sign up for a library card link, and you can get an online library card. So wherever you are, you can experience the Escondido Public Library. Yay! Hey. And yeah, we have more events like this tomorrow. August 22nd is our next virtual author chat with author Adriana Herrera. We'll be discussing gender, representation, and romance, and chatting about her new book, Here to Stay, which comes out August 25th. So yeah, I think that's all that I had to say. So thank you everyone for watching. I hope I got to your questions. If I didn't, I'm sorry. And thanks again. Have a good night.
Thank y'all so much.